Greetings from Geneva, Switzerland. I'm Reda Sadki from the Geneva Learning Foundation. Very pleased to be here and to be sharing with you our experience in this new program. This is, of course, funded by the EU for Health program and is a collaboration with the International Federation of Red Cross and Red Crescent societies. So we want to start by answering this basic question: what is peer learning? So really want to emphasize learning. We all learn through personal and shared experience. Second, we're exchanging insights and information among colleagues. It's really knowledge sharing, sharing that experience, utilizing online platforms to enhance learning. That's what's new. Human beings have always learned by experience. Most of what we know we acquire through experience. And most of that experience comes from sharing with other humans. What changes with digital networks is that we can now expand our horizons. Rather than being limited by the circle of people in our immediate environment, we can build relationships across Europe, across a country, or across the world. We want to clarify that peer learning is a complement to technical training, not a substitute or replacement. Technical training provides standardized content, and that's really important. Peer learning adds contextual wisdom, what you know only by being there and by looking at what is specific to the situation. Technical training tends to function through expert-led instruction. Peer learning really activates the collective intelligence of everyone, whether or not they're experts there yet, whatever their level of expertise. General principles versus specific applications. Knowledge acquisition complemented by knowledge creation. About your own experience, about what you do and what difference it makes, how it turns out. Individual learning versus community development. And a fixed curriculum versus emergent learning. You develop or strengthen skills in technical trainings. You can practice improvement through peer learning. So what participants experience, you can see some of the quotes here, just 4 quotes: deeper understanding, hearing from practitioners, which is studying from field directly, making new connections, feeling that you're no longer alone and many people can help you. That's part and parcel of the power of peer learning. To make this work, we need mutual commitments. The word peer means somebody like you. This is a very diverse network. So we need to support each other, to follow international child protection standards, to respect expertise, and to protect privacy. This framework of mutual commitments has been defined by the community that has emerged around these peer learning activities. There's a lot of trust in our network, is an emphatic quote from one of the participants in the peer learning exercises. So just to recap, 5 characteristics of this program, and of course I'm going to tell you have we learned so far with very specific examples, but the running thread is that real world focus, the knowledge exchange, the accessibility, continuous learning, and the measurable impact. 4 entry points. I'll be giving you the specifics, including dates and links to join the program. If you're new to PFA for Children, to Psychological First Aid for Children, PFA Basics, a self-guided e-learning course available on the ChildHub platform as well as on the Geneva Learning Foundation's Go platform. PFA Connect is every other Wednesday, a platform for professionals to network and learn, really problem solve on current, immediate, urgent challenges. PFA Insights or reports, and also self-guided courses that you can take at any time at your own pace, but you still have that peer learning component, giving and receiving feedback to colleagues. And then the intensive peer learning exercise, I'll be telling you more about that in a minute. Now, benefits for individuals of peer learning: you get to discuss real-world situations, you exchange practical solutions, you share what works and what doesn't, and you build your professional network. This person said, I gain deeper understanding of children's reactions, and such a program strengthens rapid response skills. Now, there are individuals, there are also organizations. 331 organizations have staff that have participated or contributed to our Leaders and Partner Network, representing almost 10,000 staff and volunteers and reaching more than 1 million children. Now, 75 focal points were appointed just 2 weeks ago. You can see that most of them are in Ukraine and most are from non-governmental organizations. Again, these PFA focal points are part of the structure, the digital infrastructure of this network inside Ukraine and across Europe. I understood that if we want to cry, we can cry, and we don't need to appear strong every time. This is what one participant took away. We zoom back in from that organizational level and that network level to the individual. And these kinds of deep realizations, realizing that potential value of human capital is, again, part and parcel of peer learning. So now let's get into the practical aspects. What exactly are these insights? The first insights report was actually based on the application that applicants filled out to join the peer learning exercise. So that one is focused on the experiences of children, caregivers, and helpers. We asked you questions about your experience, about the challenges that you face, and turned that into the first insights report. And in the second insights report, we're looking at developing a case study. You can say, how can that help me learn? Because most people think that learning is an expert presenting to you, sharing information, sharing guidance, and then figuring out how to put it into application. So you can see some of the benefits and the value of developing case study is really about transforming tacit knowledge that may not yet be codified in the guidance and the recommendations and turning that into professional wisdom, building analytical skills, turning your experience into documented evidence, providing and articulating professional reasoning. In fact, a big focus, because peer review is a central component in our learning methodology, giving and receiving feedback, both in structured and informal ways, gives you exposure to diverse approaches, different contexts, multiple solution pathways, constructive feedback, and helps you discover your own blind spots. So I'm very pleased to introduce the second Insights report, available in both English and Ukrainian. To get it, there are two ways. You can go to the learning.foundation, and this is a recommended way, /Ukraine-Insights, and just sign up there, and you'll receive by email all the links, all the information, and any follow-up information as well. And then on the right-hand side, you can see there's also a Zenodo community. This is one of the best online repositories hosted by the CERN in Geneva. So it's a convenient way to share and make permanent all of the knowledge produced by the program. In developing the report, of course, there was expert review, so feedback from established technical experts that we rely on, but there was also community review. So this was feedback from the practitioner community. Combining that really strengthens the value and the credibility of the experiences shared and their analysis. So I want to take just a moment to acknowledge, you can see their names on the bottom left of each page, the community reviewers who contributed to the second Insights report. So that's the process. That's how to get the report. But what can we learn from this? So here's an example of a real short summary of a fascinating case study of Serhiy Fedorov, who encountered a frightened 5-year-old girl in a shelter after a rocket strike. He suggested games. He focused on the teddy bear she was clutching, and the girl calmed down and later engaged in drawing activities. So this is where we need to be cautious. What can we learn from this and what we cannot conclude? So we can say using a child's toy as a communication tool helped in this specific situation. We cannot say this approach will work with all children in similar circumstances. And of course, good practice requires flexibility, not rigid formulas. So responsible interpretation is really thinking, what can I say based on this? What conclusions can I draw and what can I not say? So this is another example from Paul Tanasa, a withdrawn Ukrainian boy hiding under a black blanket, gradually engaged. And we can say creative adaptations of play activities can sometimes help withdrawn children engage. We cannot say when there's a Ukrainian child that withdraws, you need to give them a colored parachute. So being very careful about overgeneralization. Now, 3 context-specific highlights that we observe in the case studies and that form patterns. And from those patterns, we can discern things that complement expert guidance. So PFA extends far beyond emergency situations into everyday environments. Number 2, children often invented their own therapeutic activities when given space. Number 3, supporting caregivers significantly enhanced outcomes for children. Now 5, observed short-term impact of PFA in these case studies. Number 1, observable changes. Number 2, brief interventions. That PFA moment is that moment of crisis, but big impact. The power of acknowledgement, simple validations of feelings often produce visible relief. The physical comfort effects, blankets, water, other comfort measures have significant psychological impact. And then play versus talk. Now, family dynamics and caregiver involvement. So 3 points, unintentional impact. So some caregivers, without meaning to, of course, increase children's distress due to their own anxiety. Providing basic parenting guidance often had significant positive effects. So here's an example from one of the case studies in the second Insights report. The mother thanked me and told me that since she was so busy comforting and creating a safe environment for him and concerned about the crisis, it never crossed her mind to just play a game with her kid. 3 longer-term effects and ongoing support. Relationships as stability. So the connections formed during PFA can become important stability factors. This catalytic effect, brief interventions, sometimes trigger significant long-term changes. And then system-wide benefits, family system, often gets these positive ripple effects from one child's support. 3 takeaways about children in distress. And again, this is based on analysis of the case studies, specific situations, physical manifestations, mistaken for illness, hidden suffering. The child appears to be just fine, but it actually has significant internal distress. And then delayed reactions, sometimes long after the traumatic events. Last, on language and cultural barriers, simple words result in big trust. Honesty about limitations beyond words, body language and tone, sometimes more important than words spoken. Misdiagnosis risk. and then children as cultural bridges for practitioners. So these are just a smattering of examples, selected highlights from what we can discern through the case studies to specific situations, but then we can also exercise our critical thinking. And this is a key learning to the learning process with peer learning, is does this apply to me? So to recap, 5 key takeaways. PFA principles apply beyond emergency settings into everyday environments. Number 2, simple approaches often have the most significant impact. Number 3, supporting caregivers is essential for supporting children. Number 4, creative adaptations of standard techniques are necessary for different children. And the most effective interventions honor children's agency and choice. Now, I'm going to tell you about the entry points, how you actually can join this peer learning program, what the activities actually consist of, and when they are happening next. So we're going to start with how to get the insights report, which we've already covered, but we're going to start with PFA Connect. And that is a learning cycle. So it's every other Wednesday. There's a live session. And then you have deadlines to respond to requests for inputs. But if all you can do is join the live session, you discuss, meet in small groups, and discuss specific topics. I'll show you what the topics have been so far. So the topics so far for the first 3 editions of PFA Connect: supporting children under 3 years, preventing violence among children and adolescents, engaging parents in PFA, how do we support children when we're worried about our own future, what do we say when projects end, recognizing severe reactions, the need for referrals, helping more than one child at once, remote PFA, and then 3 years on, moving forward together, mitigating the psychosocial impact of media on children and dealing with suicidal behavior in children. So you could say, okay, what's the point? So people talk, they share experience, so what? What we compile from each session is what we call the key learning points. So this is a short document. Usually there's 1 page on each of these topics that recaps, summarizes everything that practitioners shared that we think can be useful to other practitioners. And if you have a lot of expertise, you may say, I already know all that. But actually, 2 things are significant. 1, you may know, but someone else may not. And second, the fact that it comes from a peer, from a colleague, from someone, this actually happened, this is what I did, this is how it turned out, gives it a different character, makes it of a different nature, and actually, in some cases, is the needed complement for specific key learning points to stick. Now, we're very pleased to announce the launch of the Go platform. So these are learning pathways for busy practitioners, and it has an integrated certification system. So every time you do an activity and you complete, you're successful, you can earn PFA certification and really document what you're gaining as you go. So there is a timeline. We have upcoming cohorts for the peer learning exercise. That's our most intensive package coming up with both Ukrainian and English cohorts. We have what's called the Accelerator, and then we have the Insights courses. So very briefly, the peer learning exercise is 20 hours to develop and peer review a case study. So you can see it's a day-by-day schedule. It's over 16 days. You do not have to stop work in order to learn. It's all online, of course. And this is our most intensive, rigorous exercise. At the other end of the scale are the experiences of children, caregivers, and helpers modules, and the modules that we're preparing for the second Insights report. And these are 6 modules with certificates. So what we call micro-learning. If of the 6 modules, you only want to learn about effective helper responses, or you only have time to focus on one thing, you can do that. Complete that module. It should take you under an hour and get the 1 hour learning credit for that module. So just to recap, coming up next is the 12th of March is PFA Connect number 4. We'll share the link to register. It's learning.foundation/Ukraine, where you can connect with all of these initiatives. And we invite you to join us, because the more participants there are sharing experience, giving and receiving feedback, the more these capabilities will be developed. So technical capacity, analytical capacity, adaptive capacity, reflective, relational, and systems capacity. But then there is the potential for personal transformation in both knowledge and skills, but also confidence and growing your professional network in terms of how you see yourself, how you see the world, and how you're able to change the world around you by strengthening and the lives potentially and well-being of children. So to recap the recommended learning pathway, if you have no PFA experience, we have a PFA Basics e-learning module that's hosted by ChildHub, as well as on our new Go platform, PFA Insights, PFA Connect. Every other Wednesday, you have a chance to meet, connect, and learn, and then get those key learning points quickly, distill all the useful points that can help you as a practitioner, and then the full PFA peer learning exercise. The final fifth component that we're getting ready is called the Impact Accelerator. We're excited about this because this is about inviting you to figure out what can you do at your level, in your context, in your organization to strengthen support to children, and then connect with other people who make a shared commitment to achieving impact, meaning seeing children that they're supporting get better and do better, and then going through this process of supporting each other, sharing lessons learned, successes, and challenges as we go to actually make that happen. As part of that, we'll be rolling out the PFA Measure instrument. So this is a simple tool anyone can use to actually document how, if and how, your interventions, your PFA interventions, but also the other activities around it are actually helping children get better. So that's it for this presentation. Once again, thank you for listening. If you don't know about the Geneva Learning Foundation's podcast, I'd like to invite you to have a listen. We offer a lot of live stream content, but also all kinds of podcasts on various topics around health, global development, and humanitarian response. If you're not following us yet on social media, of course, you're invited to do. Once again, thank you and goodbye.